American automotive history is filled with innovation, groundbreaking design, and legendary vehicles that changed the world. But for every Mustang and Corvette, there were cars that became cautionary tales. These weren't just disappointing, they were mechanical disasters that left owners frustrated and manufacturers embarrassed. Today, we're counting down the 15 worst cars ever sold in the United States. These vehicles combined poor engineering, questionable design decisions, and reliability issues that made them unforgettable for all the wrong reasons. Number 15. 1971 to 1980 Chevrolet Vega. At number 15, the Chevrolet Vega. General Motors launched the Vega in 1971 as their answer to the growing import market. On paper, it looked promising. In reality, it became one of GM's most notorious failures. The specs. The Vega featured a 2.3-liter inline four-cylinder engine producing 90 horsepower. Over 2 million units were produced during its run from 1971 to 1980. GM used an innovative aluminum engine block with silicon-etched cylinder bores. Unfortunately, this technology wasn't ready for prime time. The engine had a tendency to overheat, causing the cylinder walls to warp. This led to excessive oil consumption and catastrophic engine failure, often before the car reached 50,000 miles. Owners would see blue smoke pouring from their exhaust pipes, signaling the beginning of the end. Number 14. 1975 to 1980 AMC Pacer. The Pacer came standard with a 3.8-liter inline-six producing 100 horsepower. The car weighed approximately 3,000 pounds. An interesting design feature was that the passenger door was actually 4 inches longer than the driver's door for easier rear seat access. 100 horsepower to move a 3,000-pound car with the aerodynamics of a brick meant 0 to 60 times of nearly 14 seconds and fuel economy around 16 miles per gallon. The design featured massive greenhouse windows that offered exceptional visibility but turned the interior into an oven on sunny days, with inadequate air conditioning in early models. The Pacer's weight came from excessive glass and heavy-duty components originally designed for a rotary engine that AMC planned to source from General Motors. When that deal fell through, they installed a conventional 6-cylinder instead, leaving the car overweight and underpowered. Number 13. 1975 to 1966 Chevrolet Cosworth Vega. The Cosworth Vega featured a 2.0-liter dual overhead cam 4-cylinder engine with electronic fuel injection producing 110 horsepower. In 1975, that was impressive for a 4-cylinder. The engine featured forged aluminum pistons, stainless steel exhaust valves, and a genuine Cosworth-designed cylinder head. What made it terrible? First, the price. At $6,000, the Cosworth Vega cost nearly double the standard model. For that money, buyers could get a Corvette or a loaded Camaro with a V8. Second, the regular Vega's reputation was already destroyed. No amount of engineering could overcome buyers' fear of catastrophic engine failure and terminal rust. Third, despite the exotic engine, performance was underwhelming. The car still weighed 2,600 pounds, and with only 110 horsepower, it couldn't deliver the excitement its price tag promised. 0 to 60 took about 10 seconds. Quick for the era, but not $6,000 quick. Number 12. 1974 to 1908 Ford Mustang II. Built on Ford's Pinto platform, the Mustang II debuted in 1974 as Ford's response to the energy crisis. It came standard with a 2.3-liter 4-cylinder engine producing just 88 horsepower. Even the optional 2.8-liter V6 only produced 105 horsepower. Ford eventually offered a 302 cubic inch V8 in 1975, but it was so detuned that it only made 140 horsepower. What made it terrible? Let that sink in. a Mustang with 88 horsepower. Performance was abysmal. The four-cylinder Mustang II took nearly 15 seconds to reach 60 miles per hour. The V8 model did it in about 10 seconds, which sounds decent until you realize that's slower than most modern minivans. The handling wasn't any better. The Mustang II used a modified Pinto front suspension and a solid rear axle. Combined with vague steering and soft springs, it drove like the economy car it really was. Number 11. 1971 to 1978 Ford Pinto. Ford introduced the Pinto in 1971 to compete with small imports. It featured a 2.0-liter four-cylinder engine producing 75 horsepower, connected to either a 4-speed manual or 3-speed automatic transmission. What made it terrible? The Pinto was cheap, fuel-efficient, and initially popular. Ford sold hundreds of thousands per year throughout the early 1970s, but a deadly flaw lurked beneath the surface. The fuel tank was positioned behind the rear axle with minimal protection. In rear-end collisions, even at relatively low speeds, the tank could rupture and ignite. The filler neck could separate, spraying gasoline into the passenger compartment. Between 1971 and 1978, dozens of people died in Pinto fires following rear-end collisions. Number 10. 1976 to 1987 Chevrolet Chevette. The Chevette came standard with a 1.4-liter four-cylinder engine producing just 52 horsepower. Yes, 52. Later models upgraded to a 1.6-liter producing 60 horsepower, which was still barely adequate for a car weighing 2,000 pounds. What made it terrible? 0 to 60 took nearly 20 seconds with the base engine. Highway passing maneuvers required planning measured in minutes, not seconds. The 4-speed manual transmission felt like stirring rocks in a bucket, and the optional 3-speed automatic sucked away what little power the engine produced. Number 9. 1982 to 1988 Cadillac Cimarron. The Cimarron launched with a weak 1.8-liter four-cylinder engine producing just 88 horsepower. Later models received a 2.0-liter with 86 horsepower, and finally a 2.8-liter V6 with 125 horsepower. The base price was around $12,000. What made it terrible? That $12,000 price tag was nearly double what a Chevrolet Cavalier cost, yet buyers got essentially the same car with slightly better interior trim. The Cimarron became the poster child for badge engineering gone wrong. The performance was underwhelming at best. The base four-cylinder engine struggled to move the car with any sense of urgency. Even with the later V6, the Cimarron never felt like a proper luxury car. It felt like exactly what it was, a Cavalier with nicer seats. Number 8. 1981 to 1989 Cadillac Fleetwood. The 6.0-liter V8 was designed to produce 140 horsepower. The system was supposed to shut down cylinders when they weren't needed, running on 8, 6, or 4 cylinders depending on driving conditions. What made it terrible? The cylinder deactivation system rarely worked as intended. The computer system controlling it couldn't keep up with real-world driving conditions. Owners constantly complained about rough idling, stalling, hesitation, and unpredictable performance. The system would activate and deactivate at seemingly random moments, creating a jerky, unpleasant driving experience. Under load, the engine would struggle as cylinders shut down at inappropriate times. During highway cruising, the system would cycle on and off, causing vibrations and power surges. Number 7. 1982 to 1986 Chevrolet Camaro Iron Duke. The base Camaro featured a 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine producing just 90 horsepower. The car was priced at around $8,000, making it affordable but deeply compromised. What made it terrible? The Iron Duke engine was designed for economy cars like the Chevrolet Citation and Pontiac Phoenix, not sports coupes. In the Camaro, acceleration was painfully slow, taking over 14 seconds to reach 60 miles per hour. The engine was loud, rough, and completely unsuited for a car with the Camaro's sporty image. The handling was compromised by the front heavy weight distribution from the cast-iron engine block. The car felt sluggish and unresponsive, nothing like what Camaro enthusiasts expected from the nameplate. Number 6. 1984 to 1988 Pontiac Fiero. Pontiac's mid-engine sports car looked promising and had innovative design, but it became infamous for one terrifying problem: it caught fire. The specs. The base model featured a 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine producing 92 horsepower. An optional 2.8-liter V6 with 140 horsepower was available. The Fiero used plastic body panels over a space frame, an innovative construction method for the era. What made it terrible? Early models had serious engine cooling problems that led to engine fires, creating a public relations nightmare for General Motors. The fires were caused by inadequate engine cooling and connecting rods that would break and puncture the oil pan, spraying oil onto hot exhaust components. Between 1984 and 1987, there were numerous reports of Fieros bursting into flames. General Motors issued recalls to address the cooling system problems, but the damage to the car's reputation was already done. People were genuinely afraid of the car. Number 5. 1982 to 1984 Chevrolet Cavalier. The base 1.8-liter four-cylinder engine produced 88 horsepower, adequate for basic transportation but nothing more. The optional 2.0 had 86 horsepower, and a 2.8-liter V6 later became available with 112 horsepower. Prices started around $6,000. What made it terrible? The interior was cheap, with hard plastics and thin upholstery that wore out quickly. Rattles and squeaks developed early in the car's life. The dashboard design was basic and uninspiring. Rust was the Cavalier's biggest enemy. Within 3 to 5 years, owners saw rust appearing around wheel arches, door bottoms, and the rear quarter panels. The rust protection was inadequate for northern climates with road salt. The engines were noisy and unrefined. The transmission shifted roughly, and the handling was vague at best. Build quality was inconsistent, with panel gaps that varied from car to car and interior trim pieces that fell off. Number 4. 1778-1779 Chrysler LeBaron. The LeBaron was built on Chrysler's outdated R-body platform, which was essentially a warmed-up design from the 1960s. Under the hood, buyers got a 225 cubic inch slant 6, producing 110 horsepower, or optional V8s. The 318 cubic V8 produced just 140 horsepower, while the 360 cubic version managed 170 horsepower. What made it terrible? The LeBaron was marketed as a luxury vehicle, but the execution was laughable. Chrysler's idea of luxury was thick shag carpeting, aged shag upholstery, and fake wood grain plastic everywhere. The dashboard looked like it was designed by someone who'd never actually seen wood before. Build quality was atrocious. Panel gaps were measured in fractions of inches. The doors didn't align properly. Electrical gremlins plagued every system. The car weighed over 3,800 pounds, which explained both the poor mileage and the sluggish performance. Number 3. 1987-1991 Chrysler TC by Maserati. At number 3, the Chrysler TC by Maserati. This confused collaboration between Chrysler and Maserati was supposed to be a luxury sports coupe but became an expensive embarrassment. The specs. The TC featured a 2.2-liter turbocharged four-cylinder producing 160 horsepower, later upgraded to a 3.0-liter V6 with 141 horsepower. It was priced at $33,000, more than double what a Chrysler LeBaron convertible cost. What made it terrible? The TC was essentially a rebadged Chrysler LeBaron convertible with Italian leather and a Maserati badge. Buyers were paying for the Maserati name, not any real performance or luxury advantage. The car shared platforms, most mechanical components, and even many body panels with the much cheaper LeBaron. Performance was mediocre at best. The turbocharged four-cylinder provided adequate power, but nothing that justified the exotic car positioning. The V6, ironically, produced less horsepower than the four-cylinder turbo. Number 2. 1960 to 1963 Chevrolet Corvair. The Corvair measured approximately 180 inches long with a 108-inch wheelbase. It featured an air-cooled 140 cubic inch flat-six engine producing 80 horsepower in base form positioned in the rear. The car used independent suspension at all four corners. What made it terrible? GM's cost-cutting decisions created serious safety problems. The first-generation Corvair featured a swing-axle rear suspension with 60 to 63% of the car's weight over the rear wheels. This extreme rearward weight bias, combined with the basic suspension design and lack of a front anti-roll bar, made the car prone to severe oversteer. When driven hard or in emergency situations, the rear end could tuck under, causing the car to spin out of control. This handling characteristic was dangerous and unpredictable, especially for average drivers unfamiliar with rear-engine dynamics. Number 1. 1974 to 1980 AMC Gremlin. AMC introduced the Gremlin on April Fool's Day 1970. The design was created by literally chopping off the rear end of the AMC Hornet, resulting in a 96-inch wheelbase. Early models came with a 199 cubic inch inline six producing 128 horsepower, or a 232 cubic six with 145 horsepower. By 1974, those numbers had dropped to 100 and 110 horsepower due to emissions regulations. What made it terrible? The result looked exactly like it was, an unfinished car. The stubby rear end, awkward proportions, and bizarre side profile made it one of the ugliest vehicles ever produced. AMC knew it was ugly and leaned into it with the name Gremlin, admitting their car looked like a creature from a horror movie. The handling was terrible. The short wheelbase made the Gremlin prone to oversteer and instability at highway speeds. AMC later offered a 304 cubic inch V8 option, which was absurd. The short wheelbase made it extremely nose-heavy with the V8, further compromising handling.